Sniper. He's playing Sniper in pubs right now. He's playing Naga. These are some of these.
Do you know what rank he is, by the way, on the
sure
leaderboard?
Jenkins knows.
He does. He does.
I think he's 7?
9.
He's 9. Okay.
9?
Another,
That's pretty good.
Odd number. Yeah, no.
But not being in competitive on a competitive team for a year, he's still grinding it and ranked number 9.
Sometimes that helps you, if I recall. Because,
Not being on a team.
Yeah, because I feel like when you play competitive, you're playing most of your games in scrims, and you're playing as a competitive Dota player, and certain things you're expecting to happen a certain way. And then when you get into pubs, at least in my opinion, I get frustrated if I'm on a competitive team and I go pub because everyone's just doing random things, or I feel like I don't have the time to learn the pub meta and just spam the games because I feel like that's a big part of it.
You know what, Clinton, about that? I had a theory before when my players, they were doing really well in pubs.
Yeah.
I see them playing badly in our scrims.
Yeah, exactly.
And they are playing, if they are playing well in the scrims, they are losing MMR.
So we've had it wrong the whole time. The lower rank you are in your pubs, the better your team will
Get
perform.
Herald players for your TI winning roster.
There's a very fine line.
Of course.
Like,
you have to it's a balancing act.
I feel like the really good players, they can do both, right? But I feel like if you want to really boost your MMR, you kind of just step away from the competitive scene for a little bit and you can help do that. But you still have to be a really good player to be top 9 in Europe matchmaking.
I mean, it's a tough cycle, right? You kind of need to play Dota in a different way to win your pubs, but then when you join a team and you get noticed, you join a team, then you have to switch and you have to play in a different way. But if you do that in pubs, then you lose your MMR.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like Yatoro, for example, he's like ranked 50 maybe or something and ranked, but you compare him as the best carry.
Yeah,
it doesn't
he really turns it on.
I want to narrow in a little bit more. I know that we started just talking about pubs, metas, all this sort of stuff, but our Tundra Talon game draft will be coming up on our screens very soon. Before we do jump into it, Saksa, is it the make or break? Will they finally get over that threshold and get further than 3rd, 4th on LAN? Or do you think that it's going to be what you said, Winter, and maybe a little too long for them to gel together?
It's really difficult to say, you know. I feel like his playstyle is also maybe not exactly the same with 9 class, and they're going to need some time, you know, where it's good for them that nobody gets eliminated in the first phase.
That's
you know?
true.
They're going to have to try things out. They're going to have to see what works and figure things out quickly.
Yeah, they're going to have to do it quickly because this group stage is very short. It's only 2 days. So we've got 3 streams. I mentioned it before, but maybe you're just tuning in. It's 3 streams, 5 best of 2s on each stream for today. Tomorrow, it's going to be 3 best of 2s on each stream, and then any potential tiebreakers that will be occurring afterwards. So 2 days of groups. It's very quick to get those seedings within those groups. And right now, we're going to see exactly what people are prioritizing for our bans. Is it in sports? Is it in core roles? What exactly is it going to be? The Naga, the Sand King, no surprises at all, I feel.
I mean, I think for a lot of people it might be because it is TI season. It is like a TI season, right? And a lot of players come back during TI season. And they see Naga, like why would you ban Naga in the first phase, right? That's a carry hero. No, not anymore. Naga can be flexed as a carry, but it's now primarily like a support right now. With a new facet, Deluge, you just get in there, apply a status resist on top of them, and it caps your max move speed. So it's very, very annoying. And the fact that you have Reelin as a basic ability on top of your net now makes this hero a very good support. And then I think Winter, you really enjoy this hero.
Yep, I enjoy playing into this hero. This hero is so obnoxious right now. Like you build Gleipnir, so the perfect carry. I mean, your ulti got nerfed in this patch, the Wrath of Nature, but it's still so strong.
10 seconds.
You TP around the map in the early game, and I like the fact that they changed that the Sprout, it does instant damage, so it's a lot stronger in the lane. And basically, no one can trade in the lane against the Ironwood Tundra
Esports.
Where exactly can you play Nature's Prophet though? Because that's, I think,
you can kind of play him on off lane or carry or even mid. But I think his strongest role is on the carry role because you need him to actually snowball from the lane. And because you're on the shorter side of the lane, you can abuse with your Treant and you push the off laner or the support out lane. Nothing can actually touch the Treant. And you win your lane. And after that, you have ulti, you kill the other side lane, and you kill the middle lane, and everything just snowballs from there.
I have seen one playstyle that seems to work pretty well against the Natures as a core or a support, and that's having an offlaner or like whoever's laning against it build double bracer, and then the support just leaving. And you say like, okay, you want to play this hero that's going to dominate the lane? He doesn't kill you. He just CS's and dominates, right? So the way a lot of people are playing around it is essentially just like sacking the hero that you put against it in a way, and then getting solo XP. And it seems to work fine. I'm a little iffy on Nature's Prophet as a hero just because now that the ult got nerfed in terms of the base damage that it does, the bounces don't kill creep waves instantly like they used to at the same level that they used to. So you're going to be getting a lot of creep waves low on the map, but not necessarily killing them yourself, which is a lot less gold, and you're still denying those creeps from your team. They're not going to be pushing into you because they're going to like instantly.
Yeah, but I would still say like in the early mid game, it just makes it a lot easier for you to play as a unit, as 5 as your team, you know, because you have someone that can always connect. So it's easy to play. I would say it's easy to play the early game. So in high level Dota, I think that matters a lot, you know.
It does. I'm just saying, if I had to hedge my bets on like what heroes are going to fall out of the meta, I would say that the stock in Nature's Prophet, I believe, will go down when we see, like, let's say, third day of group stages, because I think now
There's no third day of group stage.
when we do see it, I think it's going to go down. I've seen some counters to it.
So tomorrow, you know, like yeah.
I mean, I definitely think.
I think tomorrow it'll be less value.
I think support and potentially mid might get figured out, but I don't think there is a hard counter to the carry NP just because of how fast it can play.
Do you think the same as for the offlane MP? Like just side lane MP core in general?
No, just carry specifically.
Okay.
And I think that'll always have some value as long as you can build Gleipnir. BKB is one of your toolkit, which you can, and on top of it, you can farm fairly fast. And I don't think as a carry you have to rely on your ulti to farm. It's just kind of like an additional tool that most carries don't have that can help team fight. Whereas if you put in another role, it won't be. It's an interesting interpretation from Talon. Dragonite, it's a hero that I personally like in the carry role, the fire facet, but I don't think that's what they're going to do here. I feel like this is an answer to NP, just on either it follows it mid or the offlane, because it has high armor, and on top of it, if NP ever leaves, and you do go for the Poison Dragon, you can just take his tower, right? And kind of just punish the fact that he is rotating on the map. I feel like that's Talon's like read on this particular game, and how they want to address the Nature's Prophet. They knew they're going to pick it. This is the response that they had. That's a very fast lineup that Tundra's running.
Yeah, Enchantress, Tusk, and it is such an old school thing. You run around the map, your 6 minutes, your supports go to mid, they take the rune, and you have an NP that can TP to mid. So there'll be 4 heroes there, and they want to kill the tower at 7 minutes with the first catapult.
And I do think that DK, if he's in a side lane position, Tusk is one of the nicest heroes to play against it. He just does not have enough armor to survive through a tag team with 3 heroes hitting him.
Where has this, like, I'm going to say resurgence, even though this is the first game we've not only seen right now in our road to the International, but right now, Tusk is like, so I feel he's about to come back into meta, and then all of a sudden just doesn't. So like, what garners him being picked up right now, maybe outside of the DK, maybe something in his toolkit?
He kind of got like a couple of good quality of life changes with how the Lotus Orb interacts and the Lincolns interacted with the snowball. Because before you needed you cast your snowball on a Lotus Orb target or Lincoln's hero, you need the snowball to connect on that hero before he procs the Lincolns or Lotus. But now it instantly breaks. So that's a big deal in the mid-late game team fights.
For Aghanim's Scepter kicking people back, you can instantly break the Lincoln.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know they changed that. One thing that anybody who comes back to Dota after a year potentially of not playing or watching, and they see the Mirana, you might think that it's a support. It could be, but a lot of people are going for the Solar Flare facet, which gives you your whole team
feels like
damage and attack.
It's a carry here with Marcy. I think they're gonna run a Mirana.
Probably.
Marcy lane, and Mirana you can kill the Treant, you know, from
because you were saying Ponyo is melee position 5 player.
He loves playing melee here.
So he loves the Marcy. We've been seeing a lot of Mirana carry, although I do believe that what Mirana offers, she offers pretty nicely from the support positions as well, as long as you have heroes that benefit from the Solar Flare. But I love the overwhelming damage that this hero gives you, playing into the aura and like tank meta that people are doing.
Yeah, but the thing with Mirana carry, I feel like she's weak in the first couple of levels. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong about this, Clinton. Like, I feel like he gets abused in the early few waves.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Mirana carry right now. I think the support role's a lot better. But yeah, your early stage isn't incredibly good. With Marcy, it might be good enough, but it's not like really good setup. I think it's a pretty strong lane overall. But I think if you do have a carry Mirana, it makes your lineup look a little bit strange here. But I don't think they have a choice, right? I think it kind of has to be the carry Mirana in this situation. But against Morphling, it's definitely not good. That's a matchup where Morphling will take control of the mid-late game. They're really going to have to snowball the game. But they do have a good lineup where they can group up. DK can really use the attack speed as well. Mirana does hit hard, but the only issue she has right now is you stun her once and she's just dead. Very, very squishy.
I mean, you have the SD to help you, I guess. I mean, the SD is also really good with DK. I mean, I love getting the Neo, the facet, the promulgate. When you have a tanky hero on your team, I always do it. Like, he's going to go in and I'm just going to cast my spell on him.
Yeah.
That plus a Solar Crest makes whatever hero you put that on like, immortal. It is so hard to deal with. And I love SD as a hero. We were talking before we went live, and I actually pick SD as my top contested support for both 4 and 5 in this tournament, just because not only does it allow you to like buff and save your team, it also counters the buffs and the saves that exist because of the SD ult purging. It purges Force Staff, purges Glimmer, it purges Solar Crest, Drum Buff, like all of these auras that people are building, minus Pipe because it's not purgeable.
I mean, the thing with SD this game, I feel like you're very vulnerable in the early game against Ench, Tusk, MP rotating around. I feel like you could die a lot in the early game.
Man, my question has just been, what's Thompson going to play? He doesn't strike me as a Nature's Prophet type of guy.
He does play Nature's.
I mean, he does, but he hasn't played it recently. He's actually been playing a lot of Ricky.
I mean, what do you think their draft needs right now? Do they need like someone that can go in and
They need someone that can just play with the supports, I feel like. And Morph is going to farm a lot. NP can always come in. NP and Morph are going to take up most of the farm on the sides of the map. They need just a hero that can just run around with the Ench and the Tusk as a 3-man and just control like the runes, make side lane rotations, play really quickly here. They don't need like an Alchemist or something very greedy that we saw banned there. They want something Thompson to play very fast on. And NP could be it, but if it's Thompson going mid with NP, then we need something that plays fast in the off lane, which I don't think there's anything in the off lane here that really will lane well with a Tusk and also play fast. Maybe a Centaur potentially?
Centaur primal type of hero.
But primal Tusk lane doesn't sound.
I mean, the lane is gonna be wonky regardless. I mean, if you want Tusk to be useful in the early game, you need like something like a range hero, like DP.
I mean, they could double down and just go all the laning stage.
I was thinking of the DP as well, but I know
Visage.
SD.
Yeah,
is really strong.
Visage maybe.
I like Visage.
Yeah, because
I love how quickly Jenkins just turned his man. He's like, yep, no, yeah, yep.
I think that hero's.
I mean, to me, that's doubling down. Like, if you want a well-balanced lineup here, you pick like, I mean, he likes Ricky. I'm fine with that. You pick your Ember Spirits, some type of Spirit type of hero, or Rotator, these Tinies, Primals, whatever it might be. That makes you have a well-balanced lineup. But if you just want to go all in on the speed, then yeah, you can pick a Visage, build the auras, TP around with NP. You've got a really fast lineup, but if you don't do well in laning stage or you lose a team fight here and there, the game could get a little rough later, a bit down.
I just feel like all the heroes we're mentioning as like these ranged heroes are just Nature's Prophet
There you go.
replacements. So yeah, I like this. I like that they pick something.
They needed something that can just move around the map with the supports that has some control. So
They completely lack team fight.
I mean, it's also good against Mirana in the team fights later with the arena. Can block out a lot of the damage. I mean, the laning with Tusk is not the best, but he'll do.
Yeah, and against DK, to be fair as well. Like both of
they just have to survive. I think the one thing you need to keep in mind is when you have like a mid NP, this guy can salvage any lane that he wants to. Like, you might not do the greatest in laning stage, but this guy is going to be level 6 at 5 minutes.
I mean, that's the
game.
point of like the DK, right? You put the DK in mid, so every time he does that, you're gonna hit his tower.
Yeah, that's their answer. And unfortunately, the only way you're going to be able to mitigate that is you're going to have to rotate the Ench mid every time NP goes out. So there's definitely answers, and they definitely need to strategize like what they want to do here. And is it going to be, you can't just leave the lane completely open for DK. That's not going to work. So I think Ench has to rotate to the mid lane every single time that the NP TP's out. And then they can play really fast while defending their towers. And it's going to be very important that Morph gets off to good laning stage as well. We didn't talk about Morph at all, but this hero is incredibly cool right now and how people play it. But we'll see what Talon pick first before we get into that. And I feel like they need either a mid or an offlaner at this point.
Probably offlaner, I think, right now.
Are you happy with Makoto playing a Dragon Knight? I just
No.
He likes the slippery, like the pucks, the spirits,
but
right?
you don't want to do DK off against Morph either, do you?
No, that sounds awful.
Now you're in a tough position.
You need to pick an offlaner here.
Okay.
Ideally, a Zoo hero are the ones that are best against Morph or Underlord.
Decision. No,
Is Underlord banned?
is not, no.
Ricky. Okay, this is a very strange
This is
draft.
a mid hero, probably.
Oh, they're using the mid tech against them. Okay. Thompson's been playing this one.
I mean, I feel like that draft looks so wonky right now.
It does.
I don't. If I'm Nature's Prophet and I see a Ricky picked against me mid, I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm just expecting free farm.
Yeah, you don't care. But then again, the Ricky doesn't care about the NP either.
Yeah, Ricky is good against morphing with the silence later.
Yes. But yeah, the way
trust.
people are playing Morph right now is pretty cool as well. He even most of the times will buy a Vlad's, but you're just getting stats now. You get waveform, you get 1 point in your W, maybe 2 points in your shift, and then you just get stats now because you get double the stats just because of his innate ability. And he gets very tanky and can join the fights much earlier. I really like what Tundra has going on here. I think that Morphling is their security into the late game. Same with the NP. They can play super fast. They've got the team fight control as well. Talon, their lineup isn't particularly bad either, but this Ricky, I feel like, has to do so much work in this game where this NP is just going to be everywhere and he's going to be hard for him to fall.
Yeah, I feel like he has so much to do, and just looking at the heroes that Tundra have, he's going to have to deal with the MP TPing, he's going to have to deal with the Ench and the Tusk rotating to the side lanes, and their lanes itself are not particularly that strong, you know? So I feel like Tundra's lineup is just way easier to execute.
Here's a question. What facet is WS going to go for? Because the Frost Dragon is good against Morphling. Right, you have the healing reduction.
Yeah.
The Red Dragon, we talked about him being the true carry.
No Red Dragon, please.
He can go Red Dragon off lane, just absolutely ruin pubs, or he can go green, which is boring. It's just typical.
So
I'm going to take towers.
The Frost Dragon will be pretty good, but I think the green one will give him momentum, which they need.
We know what he's picked, right? He's
fire. He went fire.
At the last minute, he changed
Dragon.
to fire.
All right, he's playing carry.
At the very last minute, he
offlane.
did swap to fire. I was waiting right until that. I was like, gonna wait for the lock-in because you can change it at any moment. But now you have an answer to your question, Jink. And you guys have given your thoughts exactly on where you think this is going to go. Not too in favor of Talon right now. We're liking what Tundra have together. But either way, let's get on into our very first game of this group stage with our casters, MLP and John.
Oh, thank you so much. Now we are going to game number 1 between Talon and Tundra Esports, and it is in MLP Dota and John X5. Jonathan, welcome back. We're here for TI, so how the hell are you doing?
Doing great, Mike. It's been a while, and it's good to be here on the biggest stage of the year for our game, of course. This is going to be a fun match. Talon up against Tundra. Talon, drafting-wise, are cooking up extremely hard. This is not something I've seen them play in other third-party tournaments, the most recent one being Snow Rui.
Oh.
This is entirely different. Smoke breaks. Can he get
It certainly does. Ramsey's being chased down already, and Jokam's got him with the disruption, but do they have the proper setup? They do with the arrow from Akashi. Toss back on Ramsey's. He should be going down here, and this should be the official first blood of the road to the international for WS of all people.
Yeah, that's a very good pickup for our off-lane DK, having that strong start into the double bracer timing. Again, he did go for Fire Dragons, we heard our panel talk about. So he's going to be just sitting back and farming. A little bit more to help with that laning phase is going to do wonders for him. And pretty big kill to find early on. Again, just getting that early activity out. The wards have not been spotted from Tundra, though. So they should still have that forward vision for themselves as the lane goes on. But again, this is going to be fun. I mean, we've got the new tech coming out as well from Thompson, the mid NP that we've seen a lot of in other third-party tournaments. For me, most recently, I believe Execration's been doing this quite a fair bit in like Wallahia qualifiers as well. Lewis has been playing this a ton. Thompson, of course, probably been playing it on his pubs quite a fair bit as well. Should be a very, very interesting matchup against the Ricky. We heard the panel touch on that just a little bit. This matchup doesn't really care about each other too much. The Ricky can play aggressive. He does have a little bit more agi bonus attacking non-hero units, so he can also somewhat delete the Ironwood tree, although early on it is still highly inflated. Doesn't give that much gold for how much it does in lane, so I'm keen to see how Mikado handles this, but as the levels go up, it shouldn't be too rough for the Ricky, although, again, early on, this is definitely way more favorable for Thompson. Probably for the first 3 levels, or maybe even the first 4 levels, it's going to be pretty much in the NP's way.
Yeah, certainly this Ironwood trait makes it very, very hard to actually lane for Makoto, but we'll see how he does deal with it as the levels do go up. Of course, the side lanes, Jonathan, top lane, you've got Pure and Whitemon against WS and Jokam. What do you think about this? Because I believe Winter was saying he didn't really like the idea of a DK versus Morph matchup. Do you kind of agree with that sentiment? Do you like this laning stage from either side?
It's a very stable lane for WS. He's not going to be able to fully bully out Pure. Neither will Jokam by any means, and I think that's the one thing. Pure should still be able to have himself a relatively free time farming up, unless he overextends, but you probably aren't going to be looking to play too aggressive even with the Tusk on hand. You have drinking buddies for Whitemon as well here, so there is a way to kind of try to reposition your Morphling just a bit if there is some commitment later on. But it's going to boil down to a really strong farming lane. If Jokam can get the space to stack up without being contested by Whitemon, that's where WS can really start to shine later on.
Speaking of Whitemon, he's taking a fair bit of damage on his way out. In fact, it seems like WS might actually be able to secure. Do they have enough? They do. Joe Cam will get it with the Shadow Poison stacks, and it was only 2, but it was just enough. So another kill already going to the way of Talon. 2-0.
Yeah, great start for them so far. Again, this should still be a stable lane for Pure. That's a rather aggressive drinking buddy out from Whitemon. Great disruption to cut off. Maybe Pure looking to wave for him in. Otherwise, again, Pure still has a lot of sustain. First few levels for the Morphling, definitely not great, but once you can sustain through, should stabilize relatively well. That Vlad's build-up is still there as well for Pure if you want to kind of just hit the jungle, get some stats, and pad out, as we heard the panel talk about. Last lane, of course, here, Mike, down bot. You do have Akashi on that safe lane Mirana that we've seen quite a fair bit of popping out again in third-party tournaments, along with Ponyo on the Marcy. It's a lot of damage here, but there's also a lot coming out from Tundra. You don't have the best setup for the arrow. Dispose into arrows, not particularly amazing. The timing has to be perfect. This Mirana core, though, is rather fascinating because it's a really great buff to a lot of right-click carries with a Solar Flare, and that's something that can definitely enable this carry from the offlane for WS in this game.
That certainly can. So far, in fact, jump in from Ponyo just for a moment, but he misses the rebound, so not able to really set up onto Ramses. Of course, this bottom lane does seem like it's going to be a little bit annoying here for the side of Talon. I say that, I suppose you've got plenty of ways of dealing with the creep of Saksa thanks to the arrow of Akashi. And speaking of Saksa, he's currently being chased down by Ponyo, who's making life very hard now for the Ench, but he will be okay to back his way out. It seems like Ramses, for the time being, obviously just wants to secure his own farm. He's not too interested in trying to force any fights.
Yeah, it's, again, really hard to look for a burst play here as well for Akashi and Ponyo. Very sustainable lane. Just Enchantress, even without the overprotective Wisps, just the level 1 Nature's Attendants. You don't really have the burst damage to get anything done. Akashi is farming up quite fine, but Ramses isn't being shoved away from this lane either, so you are getting that scaling that you'd want in terms of EXP. Try to hit maybe a level 5 or just right into a stable 6, get some room out, stabilize this lane, get Saksa to perhaps start to look at mid, if possible. If he does get a good creep for himself, his camps are open. So we'll see if that's something that lines up to kind of try to snowball out from Thompson. I feel like that's something the panel was touching on. It feels like both farm mids have to kind of make some plays. Maybe less pressure on Tundra with Ramses on something that can play make on Mars, but certainly for someone like Mikado, if you slow this guy's game down on the Ricky with a rotation out from Saksa, that's where things can kind of go wonky. Like, you've got a Mirana that needs to farm, you've got a DK that's definitely going to need to farm, and a Ricky that needs tempo. One little thing going out of order here for Talon can just ruin this game for them.
As props to Makoto as well while we're speaking about him. Johnny's having a pretty decent time in that mid lane matchup, not too threatened by Thompson quite yet. In fact, he's ahead of CS just barely, so even though that Treant's being ultra annoying, it seems like Makoto has been able to just kind of abuse the Blink Strike to secure CS here in the mid lane, and really hasn't slowed down too much in terms of farmers. Top lane now, Pure. And Whitemon going to chase down WS, waveform forward. WS going to try and just tank through it, gets the Dragon Breath off, and will actually be able to back his way out as now Joe Cam's trying to move in. On a Pure they'll go. Whitemon taking a fair bit of damage with these Shadow Poison stacks. Now 5 completed on Whitemon. And that'll be enough. Joe Cam able to secure another kill.
They're just working this top lane so well. Again, the Tusk wants to be able to play forward, wants to be that frontliner to enable some aggressive plays with Morphling, but in these prolonged fights, it takes so long to commit onto WS with the double bracer. This guy's sitting at 1.2k HP with a wand on top at level 4. You're not going to look for a physical kill on that DK anytime soon, and that's pretty much all you have here, especially with the drinking buddies. You don't really have the nuking damage yet from Pure to try to melt him down. So WS is going to be perfectly fine, get some regen in lane, and even though the kills are going onto Joe Cam, this is still important for the Shadow Demon to find. Something like a fast blink, fast Aether Lens, maybe even an Ags Rush can make all the difference in this kind of game. So you really don't mind that too much.
Thankfully for Akashi, that spear did not land from Ramses, just no tree right behind the Mirana. It will be okay, no stun lock there, but it does seem like Tundra are slowly starting to take over this bottom lane. I say that though, Akashi's still having the time of his life when it comes to the CS department, so it really does feel like all the lanes are actually quite even right now between both these sides.
And it is. I think the one big concern for Ramses is that you can't really stop from Mirana farming. Sure, you're not threatened by Marcy whatsoever. There's no aggressive plays for Ponyo to try to set up for that can line into a feasible kill, but you just can't put your body in front of Mirana and stop her from farming. She has the arrow for the siege creep, she has the arrow for the Enchantress creep. It's just not an easy time to try to maximize this lane from Tundra. They are blocking off Ponyo from trying to snipe away the Wisdom Rune. You are still getting movement across from Mikado, though.
Oh, it's cheeky. Makoto, he's going to try for it, but no, Sux has got it. Fast fingers here from the Ench. Meanwhile, bottom lane, of course, Jokam was able to secure his own Wisdom Rune, so no double Wisdom Rune here for Talon. Top lane, though, WS now being chased down, and Thompson does TP in. This should be enough damage here for WS, and they do get it. Very nice rotation from Thompson. First one of the game, but it certainly already pays off.
Yeah, that's what we need to see here from the NP. Connections into any of the lanes to find a kill, relieve some of this pressure coming out on Pure, and finally get that payoff on killing off WS as well, slowing down the tempo of that DK into his level 6. You've got the EXP advantage for Pure. He's going to have his 6 faster. You're stalled out from WS and just sitting, camping a lane, getting some free siege for yourself. That does leave Ramses alone here, though. Good spear.
He'll be just fine. Now, Sux is actually just taking over the mid lane now, as Thompson obviously made that rotation earlier, so just wants to get that bit of XP for his Ench. Makoto, he hasn't really moved too much. The Riki is still just casually farming that mid lane, more than happily now looking for a shield rune as well, but it looks like it probably does get denied, and it does. For a guy that hasn't played Pro Dota for a year, Jonathan, Sux still seems to be on top of the game.
And he is. Micro's still on point. Again, bot lane not really the most aggressive, but he was managing to get that spacing for Ramses to still soak up safely. A little bit of a chase on Whitemon.
See if they can find an easy pick-off. I say easy, Whitemon gonna be alright, just casually walks away, and Makoto doesn't really see the opening he was looking for. No real great lockdown to try and follow up with. And in the meantime, of course, Thompson just continuously just leaving the lane, just going into the jungle, just keeping that farm going. And it's kind of the scary thing against this Prophet, right? You just never know when he's going to show up in a lane and just take you down. He's just going to go quiet for now. Tundra, I think, more than happy with the way this game one's going so far.
Certainly so. You're still getting that farm up for Pure and Thompson. And both of their lanes went relatively well. It was really only the support suffering up top here on the side of Tundra. You've got this great starting point, especially as you approach the Maelstrom into probably the Gleipnir here for Thompson. Get some control, get that jump in. You're getting your EXP lined up as well. Even Whitemon's about to hit level 6 at this point, soaking up quite nicely on mid. We haven't really seen that much movement out from Mikado. And that's one thing to be a little bit concerned about as well for the Riki. He is working onto the defusal. At that point, the rotation should be simpler. Up top, though,
I'm going to try and make a move in here. Ponyo and Akashi trying to go onto Whitemon. Whitemon with the snowball. Going to be able to just go towards the right and does survive a little bit longer as now Pure's going to jump in. But a nice arena from Ramses showing up the last second. Still, they will lose Pure. Akashi, though, may go down as a follow-up, though. Here comes Makoto now, trying to help out. Thompson's the target. Akashi's still running. He's actually all right. He's out of there. Jokam setting up a disruption. The arrow to follow up, and they've got another. Oh, Talon. 4-for-1 trade. That is a very nice deal if you are a Talon fan.
Yeah, great movement across the gate there from Akashi. And they finally get their own punishment going. They find Thompson and Pure. The arena looks super clean from Ramses. Just not enough damage coming in there to really take care of things with that aggressive jump forward, breaking the position up of Tundra first. Great read out from Ponyo and Akashi in that flank. And you're seeing the effect of that solar flare even without items. The right-click damage starts to hurt. You're pumping out a lot of DPS just with a solar flare alone. You don't need that much items to play around as long as that spell is up here for Talon. And already putting themselves in a good position. 72, less than 1k lead. You are still keeping up with Thompson and Pure. Again, they have had spectacular lanes outside of those stats. But you are finding that tempo for Talon early on. They still have these massive stacks built up by Jokam as well. Because of all the action keeping them tied in up top, Whitemon's not being able to really scout around, although he is going for a flank play here down bot.
They are trying. It seems like the movement's been read here by Talon, though. They do retreat immediately, realizing there's just too many heroes missing off the map. I believe Pure has actually left the tier 1 token on the floor there, so just towards the south of that tier 1 bottom tower. They'll jump in. They have found Saxa first, so they will burst down him. Ponyo to secure the kill. Now the fight continues with the arena being dropped down. They'll follow up onto Ponyo. A 1-for-1. Make that a 2-for-1, in fact, the way of Tundra. They do also pick up Joe Cam. Now onto WS, but he's a tanky boy. They're going to give it a crack. WS just manning up. Here comes Makoto with the smoke screen, trying to set up on Thompson. Thompson in trouble. They take him down. The Prophet is no longer. Ramses, though, chasing down Makoto, gets the follow-up kill onto the Ricky. Is now Pure, still going on to Ponyo, trying to find more. He might just have him. The spear from a mile away from Ramses locks down Ponyo. Onto Akashi they'll go, but he's gone too far. Pure wants to get the hell out of there. And in fact, they'll stick around for the bottom T1 tower. But that team fight, it looks like it goes in favor of the side of Tundra, especially considering we have the buyback from Ponyo. In fact, WS, not out of the woods yet either. The chase is on. Pure, he'll find him. Dragon Form will wear off. The Sprout will block his way in. WS just not looking very tanky when you are getting taken down by 4 heroes. So Tundra able to secure even more as now Makoto shows back up down to this bottom lane. There is a sentry, but he's out of range for now. He'll jump in. He'll try for Ramses. So this is a very, very scary attempt. He will blink away. Akashi helping out Makoto. He'll run out of range. They will stun him up, but he's all right. There's still Tundra. It's very clear they small blood in the water and they want more. Though Pure looking to back off. Here comes Makoto. Jumps in with the silence. The arrow, though, not landing. The tag team from Whitemon. Oh my, the drinking buddies. He dragged him out of the range of the arrow.
He does, and a lot of things going wrong there for Talon. The buyback on Ponyo earlier on, just not amounting to much. Pure morphing into the Ricky, getting the smoke screen on top. Mikado jumps in, but Ponyo's TP back in after the buyback. Just a lot of forced movement out from Talon. They want to try to play, they feel like they're strong, and they were. But that Gambit just falls flat on its face with how they positioned themselves on Tundra. Again, they split up that fight really nicely. The Arena managed to block off that re-engage from Talon early on. And then just this Morphling, if you don't manage to hold Pure down, he ships into the Ricky. You have to deal with Smokescreen as well. And you've got like 2 big melee cores that want to jump in, at the very least with the DK without Dragon Form, and the Marcy even with her Unleash, not going to enjoy that either. And the BKB's a pipe dream right now for Ponyo.
Mid lane, Whitemon has been caught. That'll be Makoto securing a kill here on the Ricky. 3rd one of the game for himself. We'll find a nice invis rune here as Ponyo will pick that one up. And they could potentially look at Saxa, but it doesn't seem like they want to really dive T1 towers yet. I think that might be the thing that's really kind of intimidating Talon as well right now, is the fact that mid tier 1 and the bottom tier 1 tower just went down so quickly to the draft of Tundra. But that is one thing you really have to worry about when you are up against an Ench Nature's Prophet, is your towers are just going to melt, even if they're not there to do it themselves.
No, doesn't take that much time at all. I do like the itemization coming out here as well from Pure. He had, again, a fantastic lane phase. He's just doubling down with Midas. Already has a Dragonlance. Going for the Hurricane Pike, just needing some distance, some way to jump out of Smokescreen. Once you take care of that, you don't have too much to be scared of here on Pure, unless you get a good jump here from WS. He did have the Blink queued up earlier, did opt for the Armlet first to try to scale up. So again, trying to play more of a carry role from the off lane here, and just get some damage, get some quick farm going, clear out those camps. Tundra, for their part, starting to clump around this focal point on Pure. Has the stats to just front line, has a lot of spare agi to shift into, strength. It's not the easiest to burst, especially since you didn't go for Frost Dragon whatsoever. Get a catch on Ponyo.
A nice easy pick off here for the boys of Tundra. Ramses will go ahead and secure his 5th kill of the game now. That's one of the things, again, if you are just a lowly support, you are going to get caught very, very easily. Cheeky little scan out from Tundra as well. Does scan out Akashi on the Mirana. He is just continuously running south to the safer parts of that jungle. You do have Pure and Saxa around, though chances are they probably won't be able to lock down the Mirana. So Talon, they have slowed down the game quite a bit, haven't they, John? They're not really grouping up and fighting at all. Seems like they're more than happy to just secure a bit more farm on their end of things. Where it really is Tundra, the ones being quite aggressive on the map.
Yeah.
In fact, here we go again. Makoto, a beautiful spear, but no. It doesn't land. Still the Arena and the Gleipnir will do the job. Makoto with the silence helping out in terms of surviving, but not as long as the disruption. It does save his life, but they do take him down. Whitemon takes care of it. They'll lose Thompson, but they'll lose Whitemon on top. In fact, now Tundra, they may have gone too far. Ramses, he'll be the one to go down. Pure will move in, trying for Akashi's life, and Akashi, he does die, but now can Pure get out? Well, the answer is yes. In fact, he's jumping in. He wants more. but he'll have to leave the area. I believe that was a 3-for-3 trade. And it was. In favor of who? It looks like Talon. In fact, Saxa goes down. WS will find another.
Yeah, gets the blink out, manages to burst down that inch. Was on very low HP anyhow. The side of Talon, I mean, outside of that movement, that fight that just happened, that was a response fight to Tundra, of course, playing aggressively, getting that jump forward. I think that...
Makoto?
Oh?
Oh, he's found Pure.
Oh.
He has found Pure. That's what you love to see. If you're a Ricky carry, or a Ricky core rather. And Pure just a second too late to react, sadly, and he does go down.
Now you have to be worried about getting focused down, of course, by the Ricky. You still have to worry about smoke screen if you're not able to scout out the Ricky. They have planted a lot of wards. They're playing away from that bot area. Again, that fight worked out disastrously for Talon, so they're playing in an area they haven't touched in a while. They've got the sentry coverage for themselves. There's still a tier 1 to work through, but they've got space to get that done. And this time around, it was Tundra again in that last fight that got a little bit keen on just shoving in very deep onto that tier 2. Trying to play, not quite getting the connections out from Ramses. I think if you manage to nail that initiation onto Mikado first before he pops the smoke screen in the arena, like just that first spear connecting to a tree, you'd have a very different outcome there for Tundra. But because the smoke screen comes in, it stalls for time. It allows Jokam and everyone else to kind of TP in, get some disruption saves, and give WS this prolonged fight that the DK will enjoy, especially if he's not being focused down. And it does even out the game, 16-11. Still a 2k lead for Tundra. They're still getting that split farm out from Topson, getting some good split push action going, of course.
Lane. Gapney doesn't actually clip onto Akashi. He'll be able to leap out of range. Now Akashi picking up his own Gleipnir, but it is all too late. The bottom tier 2 tower is now officially down. Pure able to secure that very easily. Again, Tundra, you know, as much as you like to look at the kill score and think maybe the side of Talon are doing pretty good, it seems like Tundra are in complete control of this game 1. At least with their map movements. Here we go though. Ramses getting jumped mid lane. They'll try to burst down the Mars, but the snowball, Whitemon unable to save. So now Whitemon needs to run. They've got some help incoming, but it's not coming fast enough. So Whitemon should go down as now Saxa also being caught out by WS. It could be a third target here for the side of Talon, and they've got it. Never mind what I said, John. Map movements are one thing, but kills are another.
I mean, the map movement's to be expected from Tundra, right? You've got an NP, you should be able to work this map. You don't have the highest mobility heroes on Talon to respond. With the split push, you will find space for Topson to take more aggressive farm, leaving conservative jungle out for Pure to find. You still have to be careful about the rest of your heroes. I do like that Tundra are clumping up this tree, like running their 2 supports with Ramses, trying to get these opportunities to get Topson into play. But it doesn't feel like they're respecting this fully, although
Gleipnir spread out, but of course Ponyo is just going to be able to commit rebound and get away. And Topson sadly really didn't have the backup to lock him down. Now a 1k net worth lead, still the way of Tundra, but it is a much closer game, it feels like. Though Pure still very, very confidently farming that bottom area of the map, and again, it does feel like Tundra much more in control of this map for game 1 thus far. But at the very least, Talon keeping parity when it comes to the net worth department. As bottom lane, Tundra hoping someone gets baited into farming this bottom lane, but nobody's hanging around here from Talon. Akashi, maybe, or rather Makoto, maybe realizing they were around, does back his way into the mid lane. It seems like the rest of Talon, they'll just take the Torment. Why the hell not?
get very big shard in the process as well, allowing Ponyo to find some better angles in without having to rely too much on his allies. I do like the Talons just avoiding the spot lane. Again, this area's been in Tundra's control since the tier 1 tower fell. They're just dodging it. They've got their own vision set up towards their triangle up to top, and that is where they're putting all of their attention. Mid is the battleground where Tundra has been trying to force things out because they're not finding anything down bot. Again, Talon, they have taken a little bit more of a conservative approach. If the fight's by a tower, that's when they'll show up. If not, I think you just cut the losses there and go back. Still, Tundra having all of this room on the map, does have Roche access. They do have the damage coming in with Pure and with the drinking buddies on top, and the Topson coming in. Doesn't take too long for Roche to go, but Talon are smoking up. Doesn't feel like they'll make it in time though, perhaps.
They might just barely. Already half HP of Roshan gone. Talon, they are getting there, but it almost looks like it's in slow motion. Roshan still going down. We'll see if Talon want to force a fight. with Roshan going the way of Tundra. They're thinking about it. They've set up at the bottom lane. They'll take the high ground of the Twin Gates. They are waiting for a moment to pounce in. Though Saksa brings his creep through the Twin Gates now. Still, they do remain smoked up.
Yes.
In goes WS. He's going to start the fight, but he's just getting melted down. Already most of his HP gone. They'll save him disruption for now, but for how long? WS is gone. So is Ponyo. Joe Cam being left behind, probably set to fall. And Tundra, I mean, if Roshan wasn't enough, now they've got 3 kills to add on to that.
And that's a massive kill in WS. I get that his smoke breaks under the creep vision, so he does want to jump forward, but he doesn't preemptively BKB. He doesn't respect that tree line as much as he should have with how Tundra were grouped up and what the scans were revealing for them. Now Mikado all alone here.
Oh, being caught out. Thompson with a very nice teleport in, just cutting him right off. Oh, that's a big one. Makoto going down as well, just slowing down the pacing of the Riki and the whole draft of Talon, really. Just feels like it's being slowed down to a complete stop here by Tundra. As Tundra now looking for that mid-tier 2 tower, obviously going to have absolutely zero issues taking it out. And they're going to try for high ground on top. Knowing Makoto is down for 30, why the hell not? They'll give it a crack.
Look at how much damage Thompson has, right, from that Spirit of the Forest. Had about plus 78, maybe almost plus 100 there, just from being around so many trees. It's kind of crazy how much Thompson can bring out when he just TPs in a very treed up area. Rack's not going to last long, still have that security of the Aegis, maybe catch more.
Well, there's your BKB from WS, this time around being popped right before the spear does land from Ramses, but it's all too late anyway. Like, Tundra got exactly what they came for. They've got the mid-racks. They can go back to the farm game, go back to controlling the map. And if you're Talon, like, I think your only play really is to start smoking up and trying to find some pickoffs and regain map control here, but with a 7k deficit, it does start to feel very challenging.
And it does. You've got 2 Hurricane Pikes now as well on the side of Tundra, so Mikado can't get that control for the team with a smoke screen, as they have been finding success with that movement from the Riki. You're going to have to rely more on probably just Dragon Tail and Rebound, if you can find that angle for Ponyo. Easier said than done. Onto the tier 2 up top. Tundra starting to set up. Talon hugging bot lane, trying to farm together. Their options are growing slim. Side of Tundra. Again, just finding that great punishment in Roche fight. That's where it all fell apart. I think before that it was relatively even. You know, Tundra still had momentum going their way, but it was still somewhat playable for Talon before that point. Just that mistake from WS to blink forward.
They can't get caught here, John. There's not really any buybacks apart from Joe Camp. WS, he's going to jump in. They'll try to burst down the Mars, and they've got him. Ramses is gone to start. They've even found the Aegis of Pure. Is this the team fight they needed? They're going to give it a crack. The snowball is out onto Ponyo, buying a bit more time, but Pure is gone. So is Thompson. So is Whitemon. And now Sucks on top. It's a full team wipe. Well, what the hell happened?
The damage output's just ridiculous. They had Solar Flare this time around. WS didn't have the BKB. It looked awkward as heck for him to jump in. But they connect all their spells. They get the isolation. We don't see the arena come out from Ramses, and that was pretty much a sequence of pickoffs like you were talking about, right? You were saying in a big team fight, it's not working out for Talon. They split up these heroes very close to each other, but managed to get the chain stun and burst one by one. Like, look at that isolation. Pure's all the way to the left. Everyone else is on the right side. They burst down Ramses before that. And it's just insane how coordinated Talon was to get that working. And they find a lot. It brings them back in the game.
That really was quite coordinated. You can see Makoto and Akashi especially, just always the same target they aim for. There's just ridiculous amounts of damage here between the Mirana and Riki if you are able to isolate a target in the middle of a fight. And well, they certainly did that very well that time around. Now bringing the game back to a less than 1k advantage, the way of Tundra Esports, and dragging the win probability right back their way. Still not in favor of Talon, but it's certainly a much, much closer game. And now Pure, this could be a huge pickoff if they can get him, and they do.
God.
Oh boy, I mean, they just waited. They waited a long time for that one. The trap was laid, but the patience was what made it. Because now it seems like the side of Talon, they want more. They'll smell blood in the water. They'll see Saxa and Whitemon. WS doesn't have the vision. So Saxa will be able to get onto the high ground and get the hell away from that Dragon Knight. But Talon, showing Jonathan, they are not going to be steamrolled here today.
They're not. They've got to answer back for this push. And you still got Thompson shoving in. You've got even Ramsey's Illusions keeping that mid-wave fully inside their base. Talon doesn't have that much room to play around. I will say one thing. Pure with this build, you know, I like the Midas. I like this rush for the Hurricane Pike for his stat gain and just having that option to jump out of smoke screen. Not having a Lincoln's or a BKB is hurting him here, though. Like, it does feel like the Manta alone is not going to be enough. There is a lot of first jump potential here for Talon to connect outside of just a smoke screen. If they land a rebound, if they land disruption into arrow, things can go very quickly for this Morphling at full agi. You have to watch yourself.
Thompson's TP'd in. He's trying to force the fight, but he does get the force stuff onto the low ground as now Ramsey's trying to force a fight onto the Shadow Demon. White One will jump in. Jokam getting low, and he's finally gone as they will also find Ponyo. And now Akashi, that's the big target. If they can secure, but Makoto from the backside, he picks off Pure. Makoto, he'll keep going here with WS. They'll try with a 3v2 situation. Jokam, he's brought back, but they've already lost Makoto. This is not the fight to buy back in now. WS, though, still finding Thompson. Still managing to find another kill as Jokam. He will die back once again on the Shadow Demon. And that is definitely a team fight win for the side of Tundra, but not as one-sided as I would have anticipated.
No, I mean, they get the proper initiation from Tundra this time around, isolating those really pesky supports, taking away the save option of Jokam with that disruption, taking away the re-engage potential with Marcier. And that just kind of makes it very difficult for Talon. They were not quite in position to take that fight either. Good forward wards here from the side of Tundra to set up in that area and keep that engage going. That will keep Talon back. Again, despite all these good fights for Talon beforehand, before that fight on mid, it is still Tundra's game in control. Like, net worth lead was nullified to less than 1k for Tundra. Now it's back to 5k. You've still got this mid wave constantly shoving in. Talon doesn't have, again, that map mobility that Thompson has to kind of try to gank globally to punish some split up or to just split push, keep that laning pressure on. So your map's just shrunk down still really hard here for Talon. Tundra going out for another smoke play. They do have the full sight of Vice on Ramses. They've got some quick hold here if they manage to get the big jump in.
A smoke on smoke situation here, Jonathan. Tundra looking to try and get into that Radiant jungle. Side of Talon, they will actually rotate into the dire triangle right now. There's Makoto and Jokam gonna spot out the side of Tundra, but Jokam will be the one left behind, of course, so he'll happily die for Makoto to be able to get away. But here comes the rest of Talon finding Thompson. Oh, Thompson's gone. It's a big, big trade here for Talon thus far. WS wanting maybe a little bit more, though. He does get force staffed away for now. Is now the arena. Ramses, he'll find Ponyo. That'll be the secondary support down. WS in the meantime, he'll BKB TP up, but Akashi got left behind. And he leaps the wrong way on top. Oh, no. The tips immediately from Tundra. And that was all for that last leap, I believe, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
Leaps the wrong way.
Leaps the wrong way. Maybe was trying to, I don't know, set an arrow backwards before leaping forward. Gets the inputs cramped in a little bit too fast. Great punishment out from Tundra. Again, great scan to kind of cover that smoke, getting to jump once more onto the saving support. It feels like if Jokam's gone, these team fights are very hard to pull off for Talon. Without that disruption save, without that stall time to maybe look for openings with your BKBs, it gets really wonky for Talon fast. It feels like this is a composition from Talon that needs that coordination, that needs all 5 heroes in play. And all Tundra needs to do is find like one big pick off on either of the supports. It just gets really hard to play for Talon. 7k lead for Tundra holding up. They've got almost a full butterfly up on Pure, so it's going to be a little bit harder to burst him down with right clicks at that point. Got the full MKB coming out here for Thompson as well, just to hasten the push, and a little bit more DPS never hurts here. You have all the damage already, of course, from the Spirit Force. You might as well get just a little bit more attack speed to utilize it. And that's certainly going to help the case here for Thompson, for sure. Inside of Talon, and they're getting more damage out in WS. He's going for the full Daedalus. They really need to be able to play around Jokam. Like, Jokam has to find that perfect spot to play in. He does have at least the Glimmer Cape to try to save himself, but they're carrying Dust because obviously you're playing against a Ricky. No Blink yet on our Shadow Demon as well. No Aether Lens for further reach, so it's a hard game. But again, for Talon, a lot of this hinges on Jokam, and for Tundra, They're keeping every lane in check. They have a few more seconds till Roshan. They're already setting up down bot to get that done, although the forward vision does spot everyone walking down there. So Talon should understand that Roche is going to be the next target as well, if they want to play into that once more.
It is now available. There's a smoke out from Talon. 5-man smoke directly towards the Roshan pit. Tundra, they're not going to bother smoking. They'll just run right into the pit and get started. But this time, Talon, they'll be around in time. There's no two ways about that. They've got plenty of time to try and contest this time around. They'll move in. Roshan's still going down the Pure. He's almost got it gone. Roar is there. Ramses, he'll get spotted. They found a great target in the Mars and they will burst him down as the Roshan's still going. They'll be able to pick up the Aegis here on Pure, but they'll leave the banner behind. So WS will go ahead and pick that one up a Pure. How do you get out of this situation? He'll mantra off the Gleipnir. Makoto chasing him down, but no, they'll go after the Ench instead. They'll take down Saksa. Can they find more? WS, he'll get jumped. Akashi focusing on Thompson. Thompson dropping low, but Ramses with a huge arena out. Makoto, he got hexed up. Makoto, he gets the tricks of the trades off just in the nick of time. But what's it going to do for him? He does go down. So does Ponyo. Onto the DK, they'll go. WS not looking too tanky. He will drop. And Ramses, that was a very nice buyback up from the Mars just in the nick of time to save the fight here for Tundra. With the Roshan, with the Aegis still going, they'll try for high ground.
It's not going to take too much here from Tundra to rip these buildings to shreds, as we've seen before. Side of Talon only have the 2 buybacks. Even with buyback in WS, he doesn't have the Dragon form. You know, don't have their Steroid as well and Solar Flare. Gonna have to try to at least give up 1 set of racks. But Tundra, smell blood in the water, tier 4s, no problems. Forcing the buyback from WS, but what can Talon feasibly do? Again, they don't have these ultimates up. It just feels... It's a difficult defense, to say the least. Tundra right on top to set off their road to the International here on the right note. This Talon looked good early on, but just that wonky Roche fight. And it just starts to fall apart really fast with this kind of draft.
2 wonky Roche fights this time around. Well, here we go. I mean, Tundra looking for that final lane of barracks, slowly starting to head up top. You did get that Roshan banner, but that's not going to do you too much good here if you are the side of Talon. Not right now, it won't anyway. The Tundra, though, still just kind of sitting back and relaxing. They are just buying Pure some more time to get some more farm going before they do get onto that high ground. No real rush here for Tundra. They understand they are in complete control, and it seems like they're going to just wait out the MKBs before they really try for that final lane of barracks. Just no need to risk this game 1. And if you're Talon, I mean, you are the guys that need to find a way back into this game. But right now, they are just stuck in their high ground. They're just not feeling safe to venture out.
You just have so many ways of keeping these waves freely shoved in from Tundra. Again, with an NP, with a wave clearing you have, and a Morphling, even a Mars can clear out these waves and just keep it shoved consistently. You don't have a lot of room. There goes 1 weak MKB up for Pure. He's going to have, again, a little bit more damage to play with. Not going to have to care about smokescreen too much here as well. And about the BKB, you can just hit away for free. You take a free Tormentor now for Whitemon to have. A little bit more utility with the Ice Shards going further now as well, further deepest. Epileasing blocking off some pattern here. I'm not sure how Talon takes care of 2 lives on Pure. Again, if they get that perfect angle, if they get their own MKB up in the Kashi, perhaps. Piercing through that evasion chance in the Butterfly. With the right-click speed you have with Solar Flare up, you will need to isolate again. And that's where we need to see Talon kind of play together. It's just hard to see Tundra breaking apart at this point. You know, they're so far ahead. 2 lives is a huge allowance, but hey, Talon did it before when they were shoving in the mid. Maybe they can do it again?
Well, regardless, I mean, what a game we've had so far, John. 31-27, 35.5 minutes into this game. We shall see very soon if Talon can indeed do it again, because it seems like Tundra, they're ready to try and approach that high ground. They'll smoke up as 4. Topson will meet him with the teleport. Oh, they see Makoto. TP away, he's going to be alright. They can't reach. I mean, Makoto, he did have buyback to be fair, but you'd much rather not have to commit it in that fashion.
Yeah. You can't afford to die outside phase right now. At least try to take this high ground fight, buy back for a prolonged fight, and see if it works out. And Tundra, all they have to do is just play together as a team, get a good arena out from Ramses if you can.
They won't rush it. They'll wait for the creep wave to come in. In fact, Thompson's just TPing across the map, farming in another location. But he'll have it back up in about 15 seconds, so no problem. But again, it doesn't really seem like Tundra are going to try and force it. They've only got 30 seconds left on the Aegis on top for Pure, so it might be one of those situations where you just kind of accept the fact that you control the whole map anyway, and you may as well just make that net worth lead get a hell of a lot bigger, though it is already sitting at around 20k. But when you control the whole map, you may as well take all the fun.
Yep.
Maybe wait out the next Roshan.
Yeah, just playing secure here. Pure trying to work onto that BKB now. So there's really not going to be that much threat onto this Morphling. As long as he can pop the BKB quick enough before the Dragon Tail stun kicks in, you should have really no problem surviving through. And that's where this will go close to zero now for Talon at that point, once that's up. If they can maybe isolate Pure while he's farming that, sure. But again, there's no outer reach here for Talon whatsoever. You're still waiting for that MKB on Akachi. He did divert for the Crystallis early on. Don't think he wants to go for the full Daedalus just yet. Does need that Pierce first. You've got the refresh up on Ramses. Double Hex ready to go. Double Arena, double Spear, and double BKB. And Talon, they don't have any of those kinds of options. Again, they still shine in pickoffs, but you can't get pickoffs if you don't manage to get outside your base. Have the BKB up on Mikato. So at least the Ricky's a little bit more protected up front. They have to be very quick with that. Again, the sight of Vice on Ramses has been causing a ton of issues here. But I'm not seeing easy answers for Talon still. Now, like, there is a path back. It is more reliant on Tundra. Maybe playing a little bit more recklessly, going in one by one, or even just fragmented as we saw in the high ground fight. And, you know, Tundra is just not giving those opportunities back. There's that BKB for Pure. Safety net for the Morphling up and ready. And nothing to really be concerned about. Maybe you just wait out until next Roshan. A minute 40 until we see that next timer here, but it's not like Talon can really contest or do anything. They'll try with a smoke out here.
They're gonna give it a crack. The Tormentor does go the way of the Dire, of course. Pure will be able to pick up his own shards now. BKB now officially up on Pure. So life becomes infinitely harder now with that BKB available. And Tundra, they're grouping up again. Into the Radiant jungle they'll go. Akashi gonna be spotted by White One in just a moment. Shards out, but of course Akashi can just leap away and will do so. Tundra so desperate to try and find a quick pick-off before they do approach that high ground, but seems like they might just have to do it the old-fashioned way. Mikoto hanging around that bottom lane, but they don't really have the detection around this area. But now they do. But they won't make the jump on Mikoto. He's fine. They'll see Joe Cam. Ramsey's jumping in, misses the arena though. Gleipnir will lock him down. Arrow will land as well. The drinking buddy's just not quick enough, but it doesn't matter. Though with the arena down, Talon, they might want to go, and they do certainly look like they want to try and pursue here. WS ready to blink in, does commit. He gets the stun off onto the Tusk. Wyamon trying to be bursted down. In comes Mikoto, but they're lacking quite a bit of damage without Akashi. Ponyo, he'll try as well, but Pure, he's just manning up through it. He couldn't give a crap. Mikoto being chased down. They really can't afford to lose this Ricky. Silenced him up, 4-staff away. Mikoto, he might jump back in with the tricks of the trade, and Wyamon will go down. Meanwhile, though, Jokam and Ponyo both dropping. Is now Pure dropping low, but so does Mikoto. He'll go down on a WS. He'll BKB TP out, and he will make it. Meanwhile, Akashi's still getting tipped throughout all of this, as now they've got Mikoto down with that buyback, and it seems like Tundra can officially go for the jugular.
WS?
Onto the DK. WS is gone. Pure in trouble. Does go down. Pure is off the map now as Ponyo. He will die for this. It's a 2v4 scenario as Wymon's going to buy back. Takashi and Jokam versus the world. Can you deal with Thompson? That's the big target. Ramsey's disrupted. Although you have lost Jokam, still Akashi, he will try to take down the Mars, but the Hex is out. He's got no damage incoming, as now they'll focus down the Ancient, and GG is called. Game 1 will go the way of Tundra Esports. And it was quite back and forth, Jonathan, but it did always feel like Tundra just had their number here in Game 1.
That they did. I think the laning phase looked pretty all right for Talon. They had right ideas, and going for that aggressive first blood kill early on, but there.
Well, that's game one in the bag. Let's head back over to our panel and see what they had to think about this game number one.
We're going to give some of our opinions here. I mean, I really enjoyed the early game from Talon because that's the part that we didn't know how exactly it was going to play out. What are these lanes going to look like? What exactly are they going to be able to achieve for themselves? And I think a lot more than we thought. Unfortunately, it didn't lead to success for them, but I still think a promising early game for them and a little bit in that mid game left to be desired. But early rotations coming out from the Jenkins, and I think that was one of the most impressive things Talon were able to do.
Yeah, that was going pretty well for them, actually.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Akashi made his classic rotation through the portal, and that went really well. There was an early buyback that we saw from Ponyo, which was interesting, but it just spoke to how much fighting there was in that game. I think at like 25 minutes, there was like 45 kills or something like that, so almost 2 kills per minute, back and forth. The net worth lead was until the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, maybe closer to 10 minutes of the game. Like, it was fairly even.
I mean, they kind of had the greedier draft, I felt like, overall for Talon. So they needed like the early game to go well for them. So, I mean, Jenkins talked about the buyback. I felt like they kind of tried to slow the game down. They tried to slow Tundra down with that, but kind of didn't really work out. But I liked the idea. And after that, the game kind of became very scrappy and a lot of like bad pickoffs, bad deaths. They were just trying to scramble their way into the late game, whereas Tundra, I felt like even if they don't get a big lead, they still have a really, really comfortable early game with the Midas on the Morphling. And going to late game, you have Morphling plus MP, two of your very, very strong late game scaling cores. And on top of that, you have an Ench, which is also a core in the late game. So I don't feel like Tundra at any moment of this game, they were threatened.
Yeah, it felt like, the two evils there. It's like, okay, you either burst Ench and, spend a lot on trying to get rid of her because she likes to sit at the back line and just deal damage, or you just kind of get caught out and Nature's Prophet gets to also sit on the sidelines there for you and just dish out some free damage.
Yeah, but you know who wasn't doing any damage in this game?
Who?
The Riki. This pick in particular, it was supposed to do a lot, we talked about in this game. And unfortunately, it ended up with 12,000 hero damage in this game, which is not good for your last pick mid Riki here. We expected it to do a lot in this particular game. It was a very scrappy game. Yet again, I feel like this is where Riki should shine. But unfortunately, if you go for this early Diffusal Blade Rush, he also had to go for the Shard to counter like the Drinking Buddies from the Tusk. And he just ended up being more of like a support role in this particular game. So I really did not like the fact that it ended up going for this Riki last pick and throwing the DK into the offlane, and the DK also going for the fire facet too. It kind of just put him in a position where everything had to go right, and it just didn't, and the game was very difficult because
yeah, I felt like if Riki, you want to succeed in a game, you kind of need your draft to be more like team fight. Your other heroes need to have some sort of team fight, where I felt like their draft doesn't really have much of a team fight. It's all about you get your items, then late game you have this DK, you have Mirana, you're going to out DPS your opponents. But in the early mid game team fights, like, what is Riki supposed to do when nobody's willingly standing in front? Like, for example, Tundra had the arena to team fight, Talon kind of didn't really have anything outside, you hit some arrow with the DK jumping in. That's about it,
Yeah, I think that was like, we saw a good early rotation from Talon, I think at like the 10 minutes, and then you fast forward literally 2 minutes to...
Yeah, when the actual team fights are happening, you can see they are struggling.
Yes, Tundra had that arena up that you're talking about, and yeah, there was a lot more that they could do with it. Riki, we haven't really seen him in pro games for, I want to say many years. It's not that long, but at least definitely not this year competitively.
I mean, we saw him last year with the dart.
Yes, we did, and then that kind of got like nerfed out. But this year competitively, we haven't seen him. So do you want to talk about the facets? Maybe people at home might not know, and then which one Makoto went with and that you're question marking?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're really right about like Ricky not being in the meta for many years.
Yeah.
There was that Dart meta, and then before then there's also a year-to-year gap where he hasn't played. But right now he's seeing a little bit of a resurgence right now against some of the popular heroes. He's got two different facets. One of them gets some bonus EXP when he gets a kill, which is what mainly people went for, right? Just go around the map, get kills, get high level. That is kind of inconsistent now. It's very difficult to do. People know when you're off the map. So now he has a different facet now where his E, Tricks of the Trade, does like 450% bonus damage to creeps. And I expected him to rush Ags from the mid lane. That way, with that facet, it makes sense. You're farming, you keep up and farm, you're not reliant on getting hero kills. And that's something that Thompson's been doing. He's been spamming this in pubs. But Makoto, I don't know if he's super comfortable on this Ricky. He knows how it works. He went for more of the, I'm going to just get kills and snowball the game, rushing the Diffusal Blade, going for that early shard as well, getting behind. But if you don't get those kills, this hero does not shine, and unfortunately he could not find those kills in this game. And that's why the Ricky just didn't really work out. He did half the damage that the enemy Inch did in this game, and that's not where you want to be.
If you include the damage that he did to the Treant, then we're really racking up the numbers. No, I think the point that Winter mentioned was an interesting one. Like the fact that they had pretty much 3 carries on Talon. It was in all the lanes, and then the supports were not team fighters. Even Tundra lacked team fight. It was just Mars. Like all the other heroes were, scaling, and you have the Tusk and the Ench. Like these heroes are more like run at you, like ganking heroes, save heroes. So really just a game in general that lacks team fight. But one team fighter is infinitely better than 0. Like if you're Talon in that game, I do agree with the Ags take that you probably just play for pickoffs and avoid fights, because they actually were getting pickoffs. There was that one time we saw them jump Pure on the Morphling and kill him in like a fraction of a second with the Ricky. And maybe if they played the entire game like that, it would look really weird and wonky, but they have a DK playing essentially DK carry off lane. They have a Ricky playing Ricky carry mid. They have Mirana, which is one of the highest damage dealing carries in the game.
He wasn't really playing Ricky carry mid though. That's my problem. He was playing like Ricky space.
But if he went for the Ags, I mean, like if they kind of had that idea where it's like, okay, we're just gonna dodge them. I mean, it's very not this meta, but that might have worked out because Pure did go for a Midas. Like he was planning for the game to go late.
Yeah, Pure had like a rougher game than I thought, especially when we just saw the scoreboard there. His KDA, sure, it was still positive, it looked great, but there were a lot of deaths that I feel like as Morphe could have avoided. So that is big props to Talon being able to, get him a couple deaths there for themselves. The other thing is his Nature's Prophet. What's very obvious is the fact that he has a teleport built into his toolkit, right? You get to be off the map farming, and that's that late game that we talked about. I thought Ricky would have lent into that, is that you could potentially run around with your supports and try and find him. You hunt
get him in the trees.
Wherever he is when he's not ready. Maybe a new camp that he's teleported to. And that didn't happen. They didn't go for that sort of play.
Had SD plus Marcy, which I feel like didn't really enable that. If you want to do that, you kind of need like a support that can burst heroes like Lion, Skyralph, this type of hero, or at least a Snapfire. You can do damage from far away, and you can allow the Ricky to find pickoffs, And with SD and Marcy, what you're supposed to do, you follow the Ricky and what?
That's what I'm saying. I think they just should all buy Midases like it's 2 weeks ago, and then just play for the late game.
Yeah, it's also not how the game played out. Like you saw, like every fight was like a team fight.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't just alone. Even this Morph, he just had Treads Midas. He was joining every single.
It was 5v5.
Yeah, it was 5v5 the whole game. There was no like split pushing shenanigans in the early mid game. Later on there was, sure, towards the end of the game, but like at that point in time, it was already kind of too late. The game was a bit over.
How consistent do you think that style is going to be of we want early fighting carries? Because Riyadh, the last big LAN, that's what teams found success in, is we snowball up at like, let's say the 12-minute mark, and we don't leave each other's sides unless we're not winning team fights. And you think that that's going to be pretty prevalent?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now most all the carries are playing heroes that can be very active. Morph is one of the greedier ones, but most of them are buying Gleipnir first item. That way they can join the fights while still farming on the side. Their second item is usually BKB, so they continue to join these fights. If you miss a timing here or there, or if you're just a bit too AFK, you're going to lose these fights. And these fights are massive. Now you're going to lose Roche, and now the game's going to snowball. And right now, currently in this patch, snowballing a game is something you usually can't come back from. It's going to be very difficult to get back from, so speed is very important.
Yeah, if you don't join the early fights, you're not farming. Basically, you won't have time to farm. So I felt like a lot of the heroes, the carry heroes that were picked before, something like Terrorblade, Antimate, that's why they fell off. They can't really have time to farm. And even if they choose to come to the team fights, their impact compared to the range carries right now, the Lina, the Wind Ranger, the Mirana, it's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, my brain, you were like listing heroes, you know, Terribly being one of them. And for some reason, like Spectre popped into my brain. I'm like, we just have not seen her. I know that she needs a lot of items, a lot of time, and a lot of net worth to really come online. But with her ult change, that's what we saw at TI last year, is that people were looking towards picking her up because she could ult in and then just leave again and go back to farming. And I thought maybe that might have come back around with everyone wanting carries that could join fights. But there's two aspects to it. You have to be able to join fights, but you also still have to be able to do something in the fight.
And the third aspect is you have to not lose your lane horde.
Okay, yeah.
So like these heroes like Lina and Ron we talked about, NP, they're strong laners, right? They can win their lane, they can snowball that. Right now, Spectre, still playable. It's not an unplayable hero. It's just really weak in the laning stage. Gives the offlaner kind of a free game, and you want to avoid that.
I do think it's actually decent, but one thing that I've learned about Dota in the last 3 years, and I don't know if it's always been this way, or if I just learned this as a player and I wasn't good enough to recognize this back then or whatever, but it really seems like in Dota, heroes being good is not what determines the meta. It's items being good, and then that determines what heroes are picked. So if Greaves is good, then it doesn't matter what state Underlord is in. Underlord is going to be picked. If Gleipnir is good, then all the Gleipnir carries are going to be picked. The thing is, if Blade Mail or Orchid were like really busted items, which they're fine, right? They're just not as broken as
They're more like tier 2.
Yeah, but like Gleipnir is like triple S plus tier. So I honestly think like that's why these
Morph is the only exception where I feel like he's just that broken and doesn't buy those items because of what I mentioned. Like you just go stats on this hero. You put 1 point in your W, maybe 2 points in your E, and then you just go stats.
Yeah.
And they give double value, and you can just build normal carry items. He's kind of like the anomaly of the meta right now.
Yeah, there's always a few exceptions.
How many carry heroes do you think can't build Glib? I shouldn't say can't, but like don't
Most
do
of the
well
melees
with.
one. Most of the melees like doesn't make a lot of sense on them. That's about it.
Oh, thought there was going to be more.
I mean,
there was going to be a longer list
like
than that.
these Ursa, PA, Anti-Mage, like name any melee hero. It's
PA is kind of decent now, is it?
Gleipnir PA?
I mean,
No,
not
I'm saying
Gleipnir,
Gleipnir PA. But is she then one of the anomalies? Is Ursa or PA, are they in that ballpark of Morph, or you're like, Morph just really does sit here and those two are
So
more
basically
like,
the Gleipnir heroes pretty much win their lane, and you can pick them early. The Battle Fury heroes, still pickable, but they have to pick later in the draft. They have to have some type of purpose. They have to see their matchup. Yeah, pretty much. And they're gonna, or it's like we ran out of picks, everything's banned. That's the other option. So
no, you never want to be in that position, but it does happen.
I mean, that's why we just ended with a DK off lane going for the Red Dragon.
Yeah,
is because
they kind of ran out of options.
WS didn't really feel like he had anything else to play.
He did change to Red Dragon last minute.
I mean, that's the thing about when you have a star player on the team, you kind of want to leave his pick to the last or the second last, but then your enemy's targeting them. So I feel like this game, they probably have to change that sequence and maybe try to pick his hero early so they can set up the whole draft around him instead of just giving him the whole draft and the last pick. What do you want to play when everything is banned?
Dragonite was their first pick. I don't know if I expected it, though, to be a first phase pick. I feel like there are still a couple more heroes out there that you might want to put in higher priority, or you guys don't really...
I feel like they debated themselves.
I was going to say, I can tell you why. It's because they didn't want to give it to Pure. Pure invented the DK.
But you
don't you feel like it's also an
against
answer to MP?
Yeah, I feel like it's more than that. I feel like they picked this when they saw NP.
Is it though? Because the Tusk.
Why would you pick DK then to?
I think
that's the question I'm asking.
No, I feel like they had an oversight.
I think there's of course the element of it's good against NP. I think also you can just go double bracer on like a lot of these strength heroes, and it's going to do fine against the MP. But I think it's because like Pure this is his thing. Like he brought this into the meta. They're not going to give this to Tundra because now everybody is picking the DK carry. Now it's actually considered S tier meta.
Interesting.
To counter that, you're going to take his hero, give him his other good hero, Morphling, and then pick that hero that isn't good versus Morph and try to counter it.
Yeah, I think they ran out of bans. I think that's the issue, and it's what you said. They debated
the thing
themselves.
about countering as well is sometimes you're just not as good as your opponents at executing the same strat, right? You copy their strat, but there are certain small little detail that you are missing, and the thing is just not the same anymore. So I'm not really a big fan of trying to just take what your opponent's good at.
I think they pivot away from that. I don't think they do that a second.
It could have been both things that factored into this. Either way, it's a best of 2 for our group stage here between Talon and Tundra. And we're looking at our draft for game number 2 there in our screens. Are the bans going to change up? Right now, not at all. Nothing is different between these two teams and what they've decided to take out. for Tundra, I mean, you don't need to. You just won a game. You're very happy. You're very comfortable in this matchup and what you think is going to come your way. But for Talon, if that Dragon Knight was as big of an issue that you're talking about, Jenkins, maybe they consider putting it in there and not wanting it.
Lina and Omni
draft.
are the only ones left?
Yes,
Okay.
Lina and Omni from last game's bans
Yeah.
could potentially be banned here again.
We'll see.
Do you think Lina is Cannibal Winter? Do you think you're comfortable coming up against her in a competitive game of Dota?
I think Lina and MP are heroes that I will never want to fight against in the game. Like personally for me, I think they are really, really difficult to deal with. There's not many answers. I think a decent solution is maybe going like some centaur with Crimson Guard and you try to negate the damage, but I don't even know if that's enough.
They go back for it. I mean, at least if they're going to do this, I think I would prefer to see the DK go mid.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't like that. This to me is a carry hero.
Carry, I think.
right now.
Okay, strategically, you don't pick this as a carry counter to NP, in my opinion. You pick this to exploit when NP leaves the lane, but they didn't do that, right? This is not an off-lane response.
But do you also feel like the last game they did it to mirror the MP? Like wherever the MP is going, they want to send the DK there, but they changed their mind in the end.
Yeah. So like that's what I mean. Strategically, they might correct that, and I feel like that would be an okay thing to do because you're going on the same path of what makes sense. And I don't know if it's good or not, right? But it makes sense to me. It's like, oh, you have high armor, you kind of have the built-in bracers you talked about, and when the NP
raises
leaves,
the value of it.
I mean, the high armor thing is not exactly a thing anymore now, because in the beginning it's different.
it's still
It's
more than
enough.
most heroes.
Yeah, with double bracer, which anybody playing against NP is going to get, I think it is enough.
But I think you 100% have to go with the poison facet here and play for tempo. You can't go with the fire facet and just farm because at that point you might as well just play it as carry.
But if you're playing as carry, I think the fire facet is like the go-to, right?
It's
fine.
fine. I mean,
Yeah, you
that's
have
the
to
thing.
be
Like, if DK is as good as we think it is, you can just put it as a carry, and I'm fine with this as well. But if it's an answer to the NP, it's not the fire facet. It's the poison facet. NP leaves, you take his tower. Now all of a sudden he gets punished for going across the map.
Let's turn our eyes towards what those second ban phases were. Second ban phase? What? Second phase bans?
Tango and Marcy.
Sniper. Yes, Sniper getting through. So they think Marcy was an issue from game number 1, willing to give up the Sniper now, and the Morphling also making his way in there, which leaves the Viper through. So that's the differences in that second phase between game 1 and game 2. But Enchantress still on the table to be picked up and taken away.
On Talon this time, that's the adjustment they made.
The swap.
And they're going to go Bask for their Tusk here. It can be played on White Mon and Soxa, so it's still available here.
And do you guys prefer the drinking buddies or tag team now?
Not a Tusk player, not sure. It made a lot of sense against Ricky because you can just like.
As a
pull them
viewer,
out.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like because I play this hero quite a fair bit recently, I'm not really sure when should I choose the drinking buddies, and usually tag team. I pick it when I look at my carry. My carry is Lina, Wind Ranger, so I go for tag team. Yeah, that's my logic.
But isn't Drinking Buddy also good with range heroes because it gives them the buff, regardless if Tusk is next to them?
Yeah, but you don't need the attack speed on Lina, for example, or Wind Ranger.
Either way, that is going to be Sox's hero, the Sniper. Do you have any insight on this one as support?
Absolutely.
Lane winner, he's like a less.
I have a 25% win rate with this hero over the last 6 months.
No
It's
way.
my most played hero.
How many games?
Sniper? Well, I go Conda 6 Rapier Rush.
Oh, maybe that's why you're losing as
That's
a
the
support
build that I-
No, that couldn't possibly be it. That
go
couldn't
for it.
possibly be the reason.
But one thing that I did notice looking at this hero on Dota 2 Pro Tracker is a lot of players are spamming the Sniper Pause 4 and considering this to be S tier. They have a 20% win rate with it. Like, a lot of people are losing with
Yeah,
Sniper.
but most of the games you watch, you notice they're winning the lanes. I think you pick him to win the lane, and later in the game, I feel like it goes well with the current team of the meta where you need your supports to do damage. And Sniper as a position 4, after you secure the lane, yeah, you don't have any catch for your team, but you farm, you skill, and you help with the damage department.
This goes back to our conversation about maybe it's winning.
Bad in pubs, but really good for competitive.
Well, maybe
that's
it's winning
exactly
in
what I was going to say
scrims.
too.
all of this is very fruitful, and I enjoy the conversation. But Soxa is one of the only people that actually has a positive win rate with it.
Right, that's what you were going to
He
say.
is
with it.
he is actually good at this Sniper Pause 4.
This man has been cooking for Sniper
been-
for many months,
he-
by the way.
Really wants people to play Sniper.
Yes, because I remember all the way back at the Dubai LAN, he was talking to one of the teams playing in it and was like, mid Sniper, that's the secret sauce. They picked it out and they won.
I think it was Liquid, wasn't it?
Pretty sure it was Liquid. I wasn't gonna name the team, but I'm pretty sure it was Liquid.
I think it was because there was a lot of like coddle mid,
Yes.
which was just like kind of pushing the lane, so you could get away with the carry mids. There was like Leshrac mid with sniper counters.
I also feel like it kind of enables your support because back then maybe it was the meta shifting towards more emphasis of fighting in the runes. And
Yeah.
sniper, I feel like when you put this style here where you have some AoE spell to fight around the ramps, it's very difficult for the enemy team to contest the rune. Like a Razor mid, you just cast the plasma field and you kind of secure the rune.
Yeah.
And sniper does that for your supports.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Thompson is one of the sniper mid players that will actually take it mid. So
You
whenever
think there's a slight flex?
there's
for
a
that team?
there's a
This
slight
team
flex.
specifically.
Yeah, like I think when you see this, you're going to assume it's a sniper 4 because this is the meta. But with Tundra, you always have to look out. Thompson's going to look for any excuse to trick you and play a sniper mid.
I think it's absolutely hilarious. Most people said this, what is the facet called on Sniper, the scatter shot or something? Most people are like, this is the most useless facet in the game. Then all
I mean,
of a
you
sudden,
think about the position 4 heroes, right? A lot of the heroes that have a good facet now, like Lash and Sniper, they kind of change their spells from long duration to short duration, but you get more damage.
Yeah.
And that works really well in the lane. So I felt like a lot of these facets just made certain heroes have a very, very strong laning phase.
It's just funny, it's still facets are still being discovered this late after they've been
I think the item meta changing helps a lot as well. Like sniper with drums and solar feels really good just in general. Like you do really well in the early game, you get these early items and you start snowballing with the early items. When Scattershot was first added and it was the facets patch, it was not a group up as 5 like pipe Greaves sort of auras meta. It was a like how well can you do in the mid game type meta. And when you're talking about the facet that falls off the fastest but has incredible early game didn't even matter back then. It was all about mid game.
Yeah, it was like the Jin Q Marcy's rushing BKB.
Yeah,
becoming
exactly.
A core. Yeah.
You're just becoming a core.
Yeah.
The thing about Sniper that's always really annoying is he likes to sit on that back line. You know,
Likes
there's
peeping.
normally exactly. There's normally other heroes that are willing to go in for yourself. Obviously, Tusk being one of the ones they've already picked up for themselves. You go, that man wants to initiate, wants to go in. But then on the side of Talon, you then think, okay, how do we get into that back line? How do we just take out this support that's going to be able to deal a lot of damage? And I guess they thought their answers were the Mars Phoenix. Do you guys vibe with it, or? I mean, it's a good combo. You arena and you egg on top. People have done this.
It's a classic
many
combo,
times.
and I think more than anything, they're just taking away a lot of the heroes that they feel like were a problem that Tundra had. They took away the Ench, they took away the Mars, they brought their own team fight to the equation with the Phoenix here. It's a well-rounded lineup here, whereas Tundra, they're kind of going for the same type of style of strategy.
Yeah, I feel like the
Really
Phoenix also provides you with the support matchup because you like to play Phoenix into the
Tusk,
Tusk.
yeah.
So that is also a small little addition for your draft.
Do you like it a little bit more than for game 1? Like you see a clearer vision.
Yeah, it's much easier.
This is
obviously,
way
to
easier
play.
to execute. Yeah, I agree. I think for Tundra, what they're lacking right now is it's some sort of AoE disable. Like Centaur would be good if it wasn't for the fact that they're playing against Mars and Mars Arena counters a Centaur. You drop it down, you can't. You're running hasted speed within a tiny confined space. Really doesn't help that much. But some hero like that that's able to team fight, some AoE circle.
Yeah, they
I was
need a
thinking
mid shield. They need a
Slaughter.
mid shield in front. They need
Slaughter's good, yeah. A meat shield that also has some sort of stun.
And if you want
in
someone to
team
make
fight.
circles and auras, Underlord could work.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
Underlord.
pretty
and a lot
good.
with Luna is
Honka?
very, very strong combo
Yep.
together. Team fight, you stand in front, you protect her because Luna really needs someone to protect her in the team fight.
Yeah.
And a distraction. You can't. He's tanky, but you can't ignore him.
5 seconds remaining.
She's not tanky enough to survive by herself.
No.
She needs like someone else